there's an ideological civil war happening. Black people that are focused on their past and shouting about slavery, and black people that are focused on their futures, okay? I can guarantee you what you're seeing happening is victim mentality versus victor mentality. Victim mentality is not cool. I don't know why people like being oppressed. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I love oppression. We're oppressed. 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, which, by the way, none of you guys lived through. Your grandparents did, and it's embarrassing that you utilize their history. You're not living through anything right now. You're overly privileged American. Truth is that the left wants to strap black people to this idea that they are victims. That's what it comes down to. They do not want black people focused on their futures. They want black people focused on their past. They like black people to be government dependent. They don't like to see black people that are free thinkers and are independent. And I think that's what Kanye West and myself represent. This is a tremendous time to be alive as a black American. We've been existing under this facade, these lies the Democrats have orchestrated, because they consider us a low information voter market, you know, and they think we're not going to research the stats and we'll never find out.
I hate the race card. It's played every election year.
Every 4 years, the Democrats rally to get the African American vote, and we give it to them because, well, Republicans are racist, right? We usher them straight into the White House where they immediately forget about all of the promises that they made to us.
For so long, they have told us that because there was a black president, this meant progress. Progress is not a skin tone. Progress is a number, okay? And for so long, we've been convinced, look, he's taking a photo op with Beyonce and Jay-Z. That means absolutely nothing. Chicago got worse while Obama was in office, and he came from there. It's just the truth. It's what I've been preaching about long before Kanye wrote this 7-word tweet that broke the internet, is that they enslaved our bodies, the Democratic Party, but today they have enslaved our minds. I was a liberal, and I can tell you exactly why. It has to do with the educational system. We learned our history wrong. We learned that LBJ was the greatest president for black America, and that couldn't be more false. I mean, what he did essentially enslaved us, the Democratic Party.
I love the way Candace Owens thinks.
Red Pill Black, ladies and gentlemen, is the YouTube site for now. They're trying to ban her.
You're
Candace
absolutely right.
Owens.
They are the globalists, and that is exactly true. And they're losing power. So what we're seeing is kind of like a psychosis, you know? And they don't know what to do. They're losing power. They've been in power for so long, and a new media is emerging, and they are not in control of it. What does it mean when a girl can flip over her laptop and get millions of views, that it can be circulated 80 million views on Facebook, dubs in Portuguese and in French, which means we're not just hitting an American sentiment. It's a worldwide sentiment
against
that
globalism.
we're being lied to. Their time is running up. It's a great time to be alive. I'm personally excited about it.
And you got Kanye West. I don't care what people think. People don't think. I like him more than now that I know he liked Trump. That's why they literally grabbed him and threw him for a week in a mental institution when he started tweeting that he liked Trump. He went to visit Trump and they threw him in a mental institution.
I am the biggest. I've always been the biggest supporter of Kanye West, not just because I followed his music, and I knew as soon as Trump came out, I wrote on my Facebook page, Kanye's going to come out supporting Trump, because all he promotes is individualism. Everything that he does is against globalists, and people didn't understand that moment when he took the trophy from Taylor Swift. It was actually because she didn't deserve the award, and she got it because they were trying to appease people. So
they fix all those awards.
And that's what he was saying.
And now I get it.
You get it?
And now I get that I was buying into their propaganda myself, because I don't really pay attention to pop stuff.
Right. And I listen to his music, so I understood what he was saying. Why am I here? If this is all puppetry, why am I here? Why did I show up? We all know she didn't deserve this award, and she didn't. And he never went along with her narrative, and he has died on the cross time and time again as an expression to be able to say that. Well,
literally, he has no criminal record, nothing, no mental problems. He goes and visits Trump. A week later, they throw him in a mental institution for a week till he's able to get himself out.
You know, the saddest part to me with
how long was he in? 3-4 days?
I think it was about a week. And the saddest part to me was just that the black community, he has been so inspiring for all of us. And it was sad to see them that easily manipulated and saying, oh, well, you know, Kanye just must be going crazy because he supports Trump. It's all insanity, and it's getting more insane. And I'm just hoping that with my voice added to the mix, people can start to wake up. And it makes me happy that you say, yeah, I had Kanye West wrong, because at various times we've all bought into the propaganda. You know, and that's why I try to approach things with sympathy. When I go and I meet with liberals and I speak to them, I try to say, listen, I was one of you. I was one of you a year and a half ago. So, and you were, elements of you were, you know, it's everyone buys into their narrative at some point, but we are waking up, we are stronger together. And as long as we have each other's backs, the globalists are going to lose. I feel very strongly.
Let me tell you about the golden age. I've been talking about this coming for a while. And maybe you've noticed that the universe seems to be serving up more surprises than normal. It started about the time of President Trump's ascension from the time that he announced he was running. And it seems to be continuing all the way through the North Korean progress. In each of these cases, what we're seeing are things that we didn't think were possible. This is important to my point. We keep seeing a series of things that don't seem possible based on our old thinking. And I'm going to give you a little chalk talk in a moment. And I'm going to tell you how we're seeing more signs of the golden age. Now, the golden age I define as a time when everything is largely going right. You know, all the big stuff is heading in the right direction. Nothing's perfect, but we're heading in the right direction. And part of that golden age is the realization that many of our problems are psychological and not physical. A physical problem is you have a plague and you don't have a vaccine or a cure. That's a physical problem. Most of our problems now are the North Korea type of problem, where they're afraid that we're going to attack them, but we don't really want to. It's a misunderstanding. Maybe there's a way they could have security. So in other words, a President Trump comes on the scene, and probably the one thing that defines Donald Trump, let's say, the human, not just the office, probably one of the things that defines him better than anything, love him or hate him, he has one defining trait. Well, he has several, I guess. But one defining trait of Donald Trump is that he doesn't see limits on what he can do. Apparently, he doesn't see limits on his marriage, his what level he can rise to in society, how much money he can make, what industries he can get into and succeed, what things he can say on Twitter. He's simply someone who doesn't see the same mental barriers that others see. Now, what have most observers been saying about President Trump for 2.5 years? It goes something like this: you can't do that. You can't say that. Hold my Diet Coke. I'm going to do that. Watch me do that right in front of you. I'm going to give this guy a nickname. I'm going to insult this person. It'll all work out. And it seems impossible until you start seeing it all work out. The economy is blazing. North Korea is starting to, go in the right direction. And if North Korea goes, this will be your biggest signal for the golden age, because it will be the most conspicuous problem. Here's the important part. If North Korea goes in the right direction, denuclearizes, and everybody's happy that they really actually did it, it will be the biggest probably success story in history in which it was a psychological problem that was solved with psychological means short of war. All right. In the old days, we just went to war. So we just killed each other until somebody said, okay, I give up. This was always a psychological problem and is being solved largely, the sanctions are, vaguely quasi-military, but largely a psychological solution. This is a big deal. All right, I'm going to tell you about another big thing that's happening. Some of you have seen that Mike Cernovich recently has been noting that there just seems to be something in the universe that's happening. Maybe it's the simulation, we like to say, but whether it's something happening in the simulation or whatever filter you want to put on it, it feels like there's something big happening. And I think a framework to see this big happening stuff is that people are breaking out of what I call their mental prisons. That people are realizing that there were things that used to hold us back, that used to limit what we could do and what our danger was and what our opportunity was, that much of these were psychological. And once we get to a higher plane of sort of understanding how reality works and how people actually think and how we're not really rational, and we're also not as crazy as we like to think the other person is. So let me give you the best example of that recently, so you can see that there might be a pattern developing in which we're separating the problem from the solution. And what I mean by that is sort of the philosophy you're seeing from Candace Owens, and you can Google her if you're not familiar with her. She's a conservative African-American woman who's become a very important voice because she represents a point of view that you don't see as much as you probably will in the future. Now, what's interesting is that, and what I mean by separating the problem from the solution, is that the conservative view, which Candace holds, is that society has done what it can do, meaning that white people have done what they can do to make the laws, as close as possible, to enforce the laws, etc., and that the last mile, no matter whose problem it is, no matter who causes the problem, this is what's different. It doesn't matter if white people are or are not the cause of the last mile problem. They can't fix it. They can do what they can do, but they're not really the solution. So Candace's, I would say, realization is that the problem and the solution are disconnected. And if you're still locked in the past, thinking that white people have to do something, much different, you're going to be missing your opportunities. That you're thinking about it wrong, and therefore your solutions will be suboptimal. Now, let me say, I'm doing the best I can to represent someone else's opinion, just so I can tell the full story. I apologize in advance for summarizing it and maybe to the point of being slightly inaccurate. I hope I'm not doing that. But the basic idea is that the conservative view that Candace seems to be a good voice for is that only the people who have the problem can fix it. It's not the people that did cause it or you think caused it. It doesn't matter because they can't fix it. They're helpless to fix it. They would if they could. Probably would. Just can't. Don't have all the tools. Now, there are things that can be done with funding and laws, etc. So there are lots of things that can and should be done. But the conservative view is that the big gains are how the people think about the problem themselves. In other words, Candace is saying that we're in the golden age already, and that the biggest problem here is the way we think about the problem. Because if we think about it differently, we can get to a better place. What was the big news of the week? Kanye West, who is famous for saying things like George Bush doesn't care about black people, for getting on stage with Taylor Swift and making a statement that Beyonce should have won and that probably racism was part of the voting. So somebody who has strong credentials for being, an advocate for African Americans and, against racism. So Kanye has good credentials from that point of view. What did he tweet? He tweeted, "I like the way Candace Owens thinks." 7 words. And he ripped a hole in reality with 7 words. Because Kanye is supposed to be over here. And Candace is supposed to be over here. And they're not ever supposed to say the other one said something, right? All right? That's not supposed to happen. But Kanye did it anyway. Kanye knows history doesn't repeat. He's not a prisoner of the mind. He knows that the problem is not the solution. Whatever you want to say about Kanye's politics, and I don't even know what his preferred politics would be. I'm not even sure what party he would run for it if he ran for president at this point. Whatever else you want to say about him, and I don't know enough about his actual, management skills or political ability, but he did something that you could rarely see. He actually just altered reality. He just made the entire conservative Twitter sphere just go something like this. It's like your head just went, what did I just see? Did I really see this? Now forget about, which of these views you like the best. That's not even the story. Forget about whether you think Candace has everything right or everything wrong. That's not the story. The story is that these two people that shouldn't be in the same conversation, in 7 words, Kanye just changed that. And he just freed a lot of people from a mental prison. Kanye, in 7 words, unlocked a mental prison and is bringing you to the golden age.